Okay, in one of the episodes we were talking about food and how it affects the deer and everything. It also affects on how many sheds you're going to find. Now, I want to show you some things. Sheds will give you a lot of information about your land and what we need to do to fix it. Now, last year on my property I found 44 sheds. That's unbelievable with a 23-acre woodlot, and it's only 52 acres total, and we picked up 44 sheds. Now, here's the thing. There's people that will have on their hunting property, they see lots of bucks, but yet they never find sheds. Now, what that's really telling you is that you had good bedding area most likely. You had food for a while, the food left, and now they went someplace else in the late season. They could have been killed by the neighbors or down the road, and their sheds dropped someplace else. Then you have people that find sheds, but during hunting season, they go, Tony, we never see these bucks. That's because these guys usually have tons of food, but no thick bedding area on their property. So during hunting season, their deer ain't in their property. But then when it's February and January, when it's cold and they need to eat, they got a ton of food, the deer move in and they find sheds, but yet when they're hunting, they don't see them. The key is, like my property, is you have lots of bucks moving every day in your stay-in locations. When you're hunting, you just can't believe all the deer you're seeing. And then that early spring, you walk your land and pick up 44 sheds. That is impressive. Now guys, not all sheds are big. I find sheds like this, and I am telling you, anybody that shed hunts knows what I'm saying. This is like finding a morel. It's exciting no matter what the size is, okay? But we're all really looking for something like this. And when you go and see a set of these laying out there like this, when you walk into one of your food plots or your bedding area, you can't get over there fast enough. You're like a little kid again. And this is what we're after. So guys, you got to think about, are you finding sheds? If you're not finding sheds, is it because of food? Is it a food and bedding combination? But there's a reason why you don't find sheds. And you can never be a great hunting property until you have great deer movement, bucks all hunting season, and then pick up sheds. That means you're controlling it.
Tony, when's the best time to look for sheds?
Really, the best time is usually in March. Okay, now you can find some in February, and you may even find some in January. Usually if you find it in January, the buck did a ton of breeding. He could be injured, or he's sick, and he's hurting, so he drops these off. But normally speaking, it's usually in March where we pick up the bulk of the sheds. Now I'd like to show you something that is impressive. This buck, this shed here is from 2000. I called him Limper. He was in the 160s. Now, I got both sides, okay? I killed him the following year. Now, last year, I find this shed. This is Limper's genetics all these years later. This is all the webbing in here. This is definitely the same buck. Look what genetics does. Look what time does. You got to give them a couple of years of age. And can you imagine, this is only a 1.5 year old buck, and he's a perfect 10. I've seen him all the time. Both sides are matched. I only found the one. But both sides, a 1.5 year old 10. And in a couple of years now, he's going to be just like this guy. So guys, sometimes we got to let him go if you want a big buck. And so that's what I'm talking about. Sheds and genetics, food, all these play a factor in a deer management.
Tony, is it good enough just to go get some of the latest gadgets that are out there, or do you really need to make a habitat change to change your hunting environment?
At the deer shows every year, I'm sitting behind a booth and I do seminars, and you guys know that, and I'm talking to people. And I'll see a guy walking by with a bag, and I go, is that your strategy for this year, your new strategy? And he's, yeah, and he opens up the bag and he shows me some $20 gadget. Now, it ain't that the gadget may not work, but if he don't have deer on his property in November because he has no bedding area, the gadget ain't gonna help him. Gadgets and trinkets do not fix the big picture. If you have the big picture right, and you got food, bedding, and you got everything done the right way, you don't need gadgets at all, because the deer want to be underneath your stand. Most gadgets, you're trying to bring a deer to a spot he didn't want to be. Now, he ain't the same animal. He's alert, he's nervous, and he's already all wired up. Guys, it's so much better to set the property up and let the deer naturally come to your stand because it's where he wants to be. That's what we take great pride in doing on a person's property. I'm Tony LaPratt, giving you tips on sheds from Ultimate Land Management and for the Q1 Buck Pole.